Do you want to start with MTV? Tell us like
Yeah, sure.
everything.
So yeah, surprise, we were in the MTV Awards this weekend. That was planned, scheduled for last year in Paris, but due to the war, they rescheduled for this year in Manchester. So what we had is a booth during backstage for all the artists, stylists, hair and makeup artists. They were just hanging out in the space. We had other brands with us, such as like Crocs. We also had this some skincare brand, and we were the only luxury brand there, fashion. It was an amazing opportunity. So we were showcasing the hero pieces, the leather jacket, the little black leather jacket, and the menswear that we launched this February. So it was really nice to interact with the artists, meeting the stylists. Everyone really, really loved the brand, so we made amazing connections. It was amazing for network. And it was really interesting to see the fusion, fashion and music and art in general. That's the whole concept of the brand, the love of art expressed through garment making. So for me, art is the way we speak, eat, the way we show ourselves to the world. Music for me is a huge influence, so this being there made a lot of sense for us as a brand. And yeah, it was an incredible experience to meet people and really showcase the brand.
When did you begin your journey as a designer?
So I studied fashion design, did women's wear. Shortly after uni, I created a collection and I had my first runway show. I think it was 2016. I saved some money, used the savings, and I created a collection of 20 looks. And I also had this vision for the brand, combining art and fashion. So I had an intimate show in the art gallery in Brazil. It was 20 looks, I think, also very different from what I'm doing right now. It was a little bit of color on it. I worked with neutral colors, so pink, blue, was black also, and yellow, like the element colors. And after that, tried to work on the brand, but then I had to pause after a year because I wasn't ready. For me, if you really want to like nurture your business and create a brand, you need to know exactly have a 360 degrees, I would say, on how to run a business, the manufacturers, your team. So I paused that and I decided to do my master's. Um, so I did my master's, I think, in 2022, something like that. But I went to Paris and I did luxury brand management, and it was an amazing experience. Like I really learned what it takes to have a business. It's not only like yeah, designing the collection. Like there's so much behind the supply chain, people that you want to have in your team, the vision, creating everything. So after that, I got a job in Paris. The plan was to come back and get a job in the wholesale or the back end, like the business side of the fashion industry. And I ended up staying in Paris, and I was working in trend forecasting at a company called Tagua, which I worked there for 4 years, and I really, really loved it. It was amazing to really see the data, having the opportunity to do the trend reports, what is going to be in next season, what does people want. So it was really interesting to see that side of the industry. And after 4 years, I felt like I was ready. So I resigned, got back to London, and I started working on the brand. So I worked for a year on the back end, getting the right wholesalers, raw materials, suppliers, building the brand identity of the brand, website. I did everything by myself through the whole year. And then once we were ready, I launched the collection. So
What advice would you give to someone that wants to be a designer?
you need to be really resilient, and I'm a very outgoing person. I would say you need to be like that. You need to really get that fire inside you and have that attitude that yes, I'll make it. I'll even if things get hard. It's about your inner self. I would say never give up. Go talk to people. Even if you don't have energy or if you're an introvert, just go and talk to people. You never know who you're gonna meet. Put yourself out there and really believe in yourself. I would say that's the most important part. Even like to this stage, you really need to believe in yourself because no people will believe in you, but it's you. It needs to come from you.
The fashion show that I went to was like amazing. How did you promote your collections? Like, what was the most helpful way?
I think having a good team by your side that understands your vision and puts together and can cope under pressure. The team for the show, we weren't many people. I had a lot of friends coming in and helping us, even to help in terms of getting food for the models, for example, coffee, helping in this. So I think it's really important for you to have the good people next to you that knows how to work under pressure, because it's a lot of work. We were a team of 5 during the show, plus we had some volunteers also helping in the show, and friends and family also helping. It was a massive production. The last show, it was 300 people, and we managed to do everything. So I think the best advice is know how to cope with pressure, and also be always the positive person around the team. You cannot show like I was literally sewing garments at backstage and having a panic attack, but don't show that to your team. Really stay positive and be a good leader, I would say. And okay, we're gonna do it, let's go, and it works.
What was the planning process, and were you obviously anxious about the result?
So we had this last show was actually planning. It was usually for fashion shows like 6 months, and for the collection, we had some ups and downs during the process for the show. So we managed to pull everything in 3 months. So we really delegated everything. So I was finalizing the collection on the creative side. Then I had Peter on the art direction, set design, really bringing things to life, what exactly like I envisioned the brand, and Nicolo that did the painting and the models were walking on the painting. Then we had Carlotta and Christy working on curating the guest list. For us, is really important, I think, and that's the vision of the brand too. We want people to want to be there, that people that likes the brand. It's quantity versus quality, I would say. So for us, it was really important to curate exactly who's coming, who was really excited. Even on the MTV Awards, I was ready for some of the artists that I could really feel they loved the jacket, they feel good wearing the jacket. We did some gifting to those artists. So for me, that's the most important part of the process of the show. Curating a good artist too, that you will bring the brand alive, I would say, like the whole concept. And yeah, I think that was the process, really curating who's going to be there, and the artists, and it's a lot of little details, I would say, into between, but it's really allocating who's doing what through the process, and then you can have a good result. We don't have a PR agency, we do everything in-house. So it's the team is also very small, so it's really important to really allocate. And for me, I always have this conversation with my team. What is like you think your best skill? What do you think you feel comfortable doing the best? And then I allocate some roles that I love sending emails, talking to people, curating the guest list. The other, I can select the artists that are going to be in the show. So it's really bringing the best quality on the team and make things happening, especially when you have a small team. So.
Is it like relieving, like after the show?
Yes, yes, it was. It was a relief, and after the show, we needed like a few days to recover because it was intense work,
Yeah.
especially again having a small team. But even if you have a big team, yeah, it's really stressful. Everything like that, yeah.
Who and what are your inspirations for like your designs or just your vision?
For me, art and music is everything. I get inspired by that, especially music. Music and art's a big thing in my life. I love, for me, the process when I created the collection. I like to go to galleries. Sometimes I don't even plan. Like I like to be surprised by the artist that is going to be in the gallery. I like to see paintings with textures and some colors. Then I get inspired to do the color palette. Even though I don't see the brand doing a lot of color. But for example, in the future, I want to collaborate with artists and maybe do some prints and silk printed with the artwork. And for me, music, going to concerts it's my role. Going to concerts and galleries, I get really inspired by meeting people and talking and hearing about their process.
Can we get an idea of your next collection?
So we are working now. I'm working on the next collection. I'm going to Asia in a few weeks also to get inspired by Asian culture, and also I want to really establish the brand there. There's a market that I really see. They really praise the vintage culture, the made in the UK quality. So it's a market that we're going to enter next year. So it's going to have a little bit of inspiration, but still maintaining the codes of the brand. For me, the color, the Mandarin color, it's something it's the code of the brand. We gotta still work a lot with leather. For me, leather is a fabric that is really sustainable because I see the pieces becoming vintage pieces one day, and I work with the best fabrics out there from that stock from Leather Piano, Max Mara, etc. So maintaining always the quality and the finishing, for me, that's something really important. It's gonna have some of the codes from the previous collection. So the classic codes, as I said, the Mandarin color, the codes that you saw on the runway to the black coat that everyone was, well, we gotta maintain the sleeve too. It's gonna be, leather, sheer. I'm gonna work a lot with cashmere this year too, and wool maybe, yeah.
What are your proudest moments so far of your career?
I think, not to sound cliche, but this talk, I really like to put it out there and speak about the journey. I had a meeting yesterday with the studio, and they are really impressed with everything we achieve. I think it's every day it's something that I get proud of, especially now we were in the fundraising process. So this year wasn't a lot of creative things on my end. So I really had to focus on the business side and get the retailers. So this year was purely about business. After the show in February was just business. And I can't wait to start working on the new collection of February. So every day it's I'm a little bit proud. Every day is a little victory and getting there. I think each show, each thing that happens on TV, I was really, really, really proud. It was really tiring, but it was an amazing moment for us to expose the brand. The next show, I think you really need to, I don't have a precise moment that I'm proud. I think each single thing that we do on the brand, even if it's small, like we had an email from the stylist of Demi Lovato asking the garments for premiere. Each moment you need to cherish and really okay, we made it next and next and next.
You didn't mention going to concerts to kind of inspire your collections. There is a certain music genre that's inspired you?
I'm really rock indie person, but I also have my guilty pleasures pop. So it's really, I don't have a specific taste, but for me, my favorites indie rock bands. This year I went to AC/DC concert, was amazing. Really to see the rock, because the brand is classic, but there is this touch of rock and roll also. Mm-hmm. That was also the feedback from people from MTV. So it was really interesting to see the crowd, how they dress. I got really inspired by that. And then the National too, I went to their concert, I think it was end of last year, was super inspiring for me. In the future, I want to collaborate with bands, maybe have them performing at the show. So, yeah.
Do you have certain bands that would be like your dream?
So London Grammar just released their new album now, and there is a song that I really think fits this collection. We have conversations with them, so let's see if it happens for the after party or something. We also made some connections at MTV with Marshall, and they're really willing to collaborate with us. So and Gibson too, the guitar brand. So I really want to bring this element of music, art. We, on the last campaign that we are launching next week, we had Anais Gallagher, daughter of Noel Gallagher, as the face of the campaign. So it's really exciting to really mix the music, art, photography world and bringing them together.
Can you walk us through your design process, from the initial concept to the final product?
Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping, and then I had this idea, and then I just draw something 3 a.m. in the morning, go back to bed, and then for me, I always, before I even sketch the designs, I see it in my head very clear, which fabric I'm gonna use, the cut, and I really have this clear vision of the woman wearing that piece, and then I put it on paper. But even before I sketch, I know exactly what I want, like in terms of fabrics and everything. So it really comes natural at 3 a.m. in the morning. I wake up and I sketch and I go back to sleep. Or sometimes even I'm in a random cafe or even in a concert gallery, and I'm like looking and I have already the idea in my head, and then I go back to the studio and I sketch everything. And usually it works really well for me. When I see the piece, I already think on the rest of the collection. So what is going to make sense and align everything. For me, it's really important coherence to have a pattern like makes sense the collection together. If you're going to buy the coat, the trousers will fit together with the whole look. It's a mix and match. So it's really important for me to have the entire collection making sense in the whole. Once I did the sketching, I put together the collection, I do the technical drawings, then I go, we have our main studio, Upper Grove, where we do the product development. And then with them, with the team, we really see like which stitching is gonna work, because sometimes I love a challenge and I love working with specific type of leather that sometimes it's not gonna look good, and I'm like, no, let's do it, let's see how it's gonna go. Usually it works, sometimes no, so we need to go back, change the fabric that I wanted, the type of stitches, so I do everything with the team. And then we do the toile, and we do the fittings, and then we do with the real fabric, everything, and then we do the fittings. And usually there's not much alterations, which I love that. I really love working with Jane and Kai, and they're from Creative Sample Studio in Upper Grove. Everything that I have imagined in my mind, it comes through like really well, and no alterations or anything, and that's the process that I like to follow too. I don't, because for me, the first idea is always the best one. It doesn't, if you go in circles around and around changing things, you end up getting lost. It's very cost effective to always stick to your Fosca.
How do you manage the pressure of the fast-paced industry?
That's a very good question. I think having good people next to you, I think is the most important thing. Having support, having people believing in you. That's how I cope with the stress, with everything. Because a lot of pressure, especially having your own brand. You don't know, like now this first 2 years, I wasn't getting any income, so it's very different by working with someone in the industry. When I worked in Paris, it was a lot of pressure, but I knew I have my salary at the end of the month. It's a lot of things. It was great working during the weekends, during Fashion Week, working till 12 p.m. And having your own brand is a completely different pressure. And I think how I cope is having the right people, the right friends.
How do you incorporate sustainable practices into your brand?
For me, that was number one thing, even before thinking of on the brand. Sustainability is something that it should be mandatory for brands even before they create. The first thing that you need to think, especially seeing so many things working in this industry for 15 years. I have seen so many things, and it should be a priority, it should be there. So in terms of fabrics, I get that stock from luxury brands. Whenever they produce and they don't use, instead of throwing away, we have this company that they supply to us everything that they don't use. And also in terms of manufacturing, we produce everything in the UK. We work with small independent manufacturers. A lot of people say, oh, but it's not cost effective. You could produce in Turkey or China or Italy, but it works. It's just more work. And I think sustainability is something that is possible, but it's just more work that people don't want to have it. But it's something that, for me was number one rule: sustainability. Who is making the clothes, which materials I'm using, where am I getting the materials, and the manufacturers that I work with. The year that prior I launched the brand, I was doing tasks with the manufacturers. So I was going there in person to see the conditions, see who's making the pieces, and it builds something different too, because people put a face on the garments that they're making. So they make with love, they make it properly, and that's something I'm really proud of.
What is a typical day in your role as a designer?
Back-to-back calls. As I mentioned lately, this year was just purely business. It was meeting with investors, with wholesalers to really, we try really to push the brand to the next level this year. So it was just mainly, I felt very corporate this year because it was meetings with venture capitals and finance people and etc. So I'm really looking forward to the next phase of the brand now. Once we finalize the fundraising, we will expand the team too, and I really want to focus on the design side. So before last year was mainly focused on the PR side and the design. So going to the studio, I always try to split the week. So I tend to focus on the design side Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then business side Thursdays and Fridays if we're raised. But I go to the studio, we have fittings, we see what is working, what is not. We have an in-house fitting model, so yeah, we spend the day doing that. And then sometimes we have some things are unpredictable. We need to change the fabric. So I go and I try to source the fabric that I really want. And then tech drawings that I need to make and spec sheets to a day, yeah, will be fittings and being ready for the unpredictable that is going to happen through the collection. And then I really love the strategy and PR side. So that's two things after the fundraising that I really want to focus is the strategy and the design. I love because I also know exactly what I expect, the vision for the brand, the target audience. So I love that side also to really create the campaigns. Each day is thinking about the future, thinking the campaign, next collection, the right people to collaborate for us, collaboration is key. Also, I didn't mention, we finalized a collaboration with Freeze this year. So instead of us doing London Fashion Week in February, we will do Freeze Week, which aligns completely with the brand, the love of art expressed through garment making. So we will have next year, there is a lot of nice things coming up for us.
How have you seen the fashion industry change and how has your brand adapted to it?
It changed so much looking back in the days. I worked, did a couple of internships before my master's, after I graduated, I worked with Victoria Beckham and Marika Transu and Jonathan Saunders. And looking back, it has changed a lot in terms of everything, in terms of work, what do you do? Now I think people are being more, especially with social media and everything, I think people now are giving more credit to the interns. Back in the days, maybe wasn't like that. Now I think people are feeling having what they deserve, their voice. I would say is not such a toxic industry as it used to be back in the days. I think also in terms of the whole sustainability movement and now there's a whole crisis also with the creative directors changing. I was really sad yesterday when I heard Peter Du just left. It was very short and sweet. I love him. I think he's amazing. But yeah, there's the fashion industry keeps changing. Back in the days, I think brands they had more brand identity. I would say it was more strong because there was no much social media. I would say. And nowadays, I feel like brands, especially the big corporate groups, I just think they are really lost in terms of their target audience. Again, social media is a blast and a curse. That's what I always say, because you want to do so much and target everyone, but at the end, the brands are suffering. Not that I name brands, but I feel like they had everything. They had the heritage, the code, and they completely changed everything for this new generation. But this new generation also wants that. They want authenticity. They want the codes. They want heritage. They want craftsmanship. And I think that's how we enter and that's how we adapt. We are bringing back what the fashion back in the days that it was when you see a runway, you would know that belongs to that brand. Nowadays, you see some runways and you're like, is that X, Y, Z? Or you get a bit lost in overall. And I think that's what we are doing, really keeping the consistent of the brand and bringing, when you see a piece of clothing, when you see the runway pictures, you immediately identify that's AW, that's Adrianne Weber. And that's what I feel the industry has changed. Nowadays it's way more fair, I think, with models, interns, they're getting paid now. There's also a whole movement for me. I pay my interns. It's something that we are working. It's work. There's no like, you can find the budget to pay your interns. It's not much, it's not a salary. And at the end of the day, you guys, us, we are working, we are there, we are committing our time. And I think cherishing also those interns and etc. to maybe keep them in the brand because they're being trained on that period. And brands need to manage like their time, their budget, and I don't understand some things that I have seen through the past, and I'm like, I learned a lot, and I'm doing everything the opposite of how it was back in the day.
Where do you see the future of fashion heading?
I think the brands that will really survive is being resilient, especially there's a whole crisis now, as I mentioned, with the creative directors changing, the online wholesale completely changing. My Teresa just wasn't supportive with matches like shutting down. So I feel like the ones that are going to survive, the brands, are the ones that really stick to their identity. The ones that, okay, we are this, we will continue doing this for the next years, for the upcoming years. Really maintaining the code of the brand and the design, the heritage, and sticking to what they do best. And the others, while they're trying to figure it out where their target audience is, I'm not sure. They will because, well, they're backed up by the corporates, the LVMH of the world, and etc. But I feel like brands, people in general, including myself, because I not only wear my brand hat to toe, but I like brands that they have this brand identity, they give a message to the audience. And no matter if it's price point that you cannot afford, you will look forward to save and buy that piece of garment because you want to be part of something and you know this is something stable.
You have a Brazilian heritage. Would you do any collections based on that?
Yeah, we are having those discussions on like how we're gonna implement the Brazilian heritage on the brand. Now with the MTV Awards, we just met this Latin American band, that they are going to be at the Grammys, the Latin American Grammys. So we are doing a costume piece for them, and that's when I think I'm going to try to bring this Brazilian heritage, especially in terms of fabric. There in Brazil, I think like there's a lot of craftsmanship too. You think north of Brazil, they are amazing hat makers, for example. So I want to bring this collaboration into like artisans bringing the collection together. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It was so amazing to hear about all of this, and honestly, it's given myself a lot of insights about the fashion design career, having a brand, and even actually other parts in the fashion industry. So, thank you so much.